Hey, Beastista here, and welcome to week 7 of the VDL. This week we're playing against the Rold Gold Pretzels, and before we begin, I think it's worthwhile to look at this, which is the division rankings for the VDL, for the Diamond Division, which is the division myself and the Rold Gold Pretzels are in. If you look at the first and second spot, it is me and them. And so currently we're in a position where I can, in theory, still get first seed if I beat them 2-0, and then next week I win 2-0 and they lose 2-0. So it's incredibly unlikely. However, we can also see that if I win my next this week and next week, I am guaranteed a playoff spot. And if I win this week, or if I win one of the next 2 weeks, there's a chance I might make playoffs, even if I am at 4-4. So with that, let's go into the matchup. So this is the matchup: my team on the left and my opponent's team on the right. Based on how the Rolled Gold Pretzels have been playing this season, I feel pretty confident in saying that I could guess 5 of their Pokemon pretty consistently, which is I'm expecting them to bring Cinderace, Thundurus, Therium, Crocodile, Aggron, and Cursula. And then in the final spot, I could imagine Porygon for Trick Room, or Undoing Trick Room, Clefable for Redirection, and Blastoise for Fake Out. So those are the possible flex spots, but I believe they're going to bring the 5 Pokemon. And not only do I expect them to bring those 5 Pokemon, I'm expecting Thundurus, Therian, and Crocodile to be their lead, with Crocodile having specifically Choice Scarf. So I'm having a very hard read that's my guess based on how they've been playing historically throughout this season. So with that, my entire game plan can kind of be around those 5 Pokemon I'm expecting to see. So one of the things you can see is a lot of the more concerning Pokemon are Cinderace, Crocodile, and Aggron. And so they are all physical attackers that are weak to water coverage. And so Pokemon like Tentacruel, um, Quillfish could be pretty interesting. In addition, Naganadel actually outspeeds the entire team. However, it does not outspeed a Pokemon with Choice Scarf. Slowking is slower than everything except Cursula, and Cursula has a reasonable type matchup into Slowking, and we can kind of get into an awkward speed tie situation. And so there's kind of just some of the big things, but the big one is looking at their team. I'm expecting a fairly small number of Pokemon, and I'm pretty sure that I have a good idea what they're going to lead specifically. So with that, we go into the team I brought. So game 1, I'm expecting to lead the top 2 Pokemon, Slowking, Toxicroak. So Slowking has weakness policy, Trick Room, Surf, and Psychic. And I'm planning on pairing it with Toxicroak, which has Dry Skin and Fake Out. And so the idea is to fake out a Pokemon with Toxicroak and set up Trick Room with Slowking. And not only do I plan on setting up Trick Room with Slowking, I also would like to get hit with a super effective attack before I set up Trick Room so that I get a +2 special attack boost. And then in +2 special attack, I am able to kill pretty much everything on their team with a Helping Hand Surf. And then Surf, because of Dry Skin and Toxicroak, will not hurt it, and that is a very good start. And then I have to give Quick Guard to Toxicroak specifically to play around Sucker Punch possibility with Cinderace. And then finally, I gave it Sucker Punch on Toxicroak to cover for Cursula specifically because Surf kills pretty much everything except for Cursula, and Sucker Punch plus Surf is a guaranteed KO if Slowking's at +2. So that's kind of the idea of my lead, and then the Sugar Berries for Toxicroak specifically, so it survives something like an earthquake. But that's kind of the idea with my lead. And then in the back, I'm expecting the next 2 Pokemon, which is Dragalge and Amoonguss. Dragalge has Room Service, which lowers its speed when Trick Room is up, and this allows me to underspeed Cursula in Trick Room, which is a really big deal because Draco Meteor in Trick Room has a pretty good chance to kill Cursula, and if not, it will definitely kill it with, let's say, a Sucker Punch having hit or a neutral Surf having hit it. And then finally, on my game 1 lead that I'm planning on doing is Amoonguss with an Aqua Berry to survive any single hit, and I gave it Protect, Rage Powder, Spore, which is pretty consistent with all the Moongusses I've brought so far, and then finally Pawn Puff in order to heal Slow King and Dragalge and Trick Room. So that's kind of the idea of my game 1 lead, and I'm definitely kind of switching up some of the things I normally do. For example, Sugar Berry on Toxicroak, Weakness Policy on Slow King, Room Service on Dragalge, because I haven't done any of those yet this season, and I have reason to believe that my opponent this week has watched many, if not all, of my videos and has a pretty good idea of what I've been doing throughout this season. So finally, I have my last 2 Pokemon, and I'm expecting to lead the final 2 Pokemon in Game 2. So Naganadel should outspeed everything on my opponent's team that does not have a Choice Scarf. And in addition to that, with the way it's IV'd, whenever I get a kill, I actually get a speed boost instead of a special attack boost, which normally isn't great, but is actually very relevant this week because +1 speed Naganadel will actually outspeed most Pokemon that might be running a Choice Scarf on my opponent's team. And so if I get a kill with Naganadel, I should be able to get a clean kill. Or if I get a kill with Naganadel, I should be able to get a clean outspeed of the Choice Scarf Mon and maybe kill the Choice Scarf Pokemon. Other than that, I gave it Dark Pulse for Cursula and then the stab coverage to do max damage because they don't have mini Dragon or Poison, or mini Pokemon that resist both Dragon and Poison. And then I gave it Focus Sash specifically because, one, I've never done it, and so it's a little bit unpredictable, but also because it lets me take a hit from a possible Choice Scarf Pokemon. And then finally, Skunk Tank has Air Balloon. Air Balloon is another item I have yet to use this season, but it gives me a ground immunity. So one of the nice things about this week is that in Team Preview, my opponents is not going to see that I have any ground immunities. So my opponent is very incentivized to just use ground coverage whenever they can because I only have 1 Pokemon that even takes it for neutral damage, which is Amoonguss. All my other Pokemon take ground for super effective. And with Skunk Tank having Air Balloon, I actually have the possibility of a ground immunity that's not obvious when they're looking at my team before the match begins. And then with the Amoonguss, I gave it Acid Mask because they have a lot of physical attackers with Sucker Punch, Poison Jab, and Play Rough to kind of get reasonable coverage. So anyways, so that's the idea of my Game 1 and Game 2 leads and the general idea of my team. Let's get into the matches. So here we are for Game 1. We can see that my opponent has 5 of the Pokemon that I was definitely expecting them to see, and their 6 Pokemon, which was the flex spot in my opinion, is Clefable, which is unsurprising since Clefable is technically their most brought Pokemon this entire season. However, because they brought pretty much the exact Pokemon I'm expecting, there's no reason to deviate from my Game 1 plan, which is Toxicroak, Slowking, and then Amoonguss and Dragalge in the back. And with that, I feel pretty good about the idea of this Game 1. My opponent leads Crocodile Thundurus, which is the exact lead that I was expecting and I was prepping for. And I leaked my Slowking Toxicroak. So here, my game plan was to fake out into the Thundurus and set up Trick Room. Hope to take a ground move. Specifically, Earthquake would be optimal, but any ground move in order to get my weakness policy activated from the Slowking. So they switch out Thundurus, which is a reasonable decision, into Cursula, which is actually a very good move on their side. And the fake out doesn't do anything, and then the high Horsepower ends up missing, which is actually a really big deal because of my weakness policy, and I actively would have rather it gotten hit with the high horsepower there. Here with Trick Room, we see that Cursula actually has Room Service, which actually lowers its speed now, and so it is guaranteed to underspeed Slowking. So here, I think that it's pretty clear that the Cursula should hopefully just attack into Slowking, and so I can just Helping Hand serve. And Helping Hand serve is a clean KO on Toxicroak, even if it's an Assault Vest, and it has a pretty good chance to kill Cursula. But if it doesn't kill Cursula, it definitely will be in range of a Sucker Punch. And so here we see that I get the Helping Hand off, and they end up protecting Cursula, which is very surprising. I was not expecting to see it. It ends up being very good because if they would have just attacked into Slowking and activated a weakness policy, I think I easily win this game. And so one of the big things with this is that I can say is, like, if I was in fact hit by the high horsepower in turn 1, I likely would have had to protect and Sucker Punch into Cursula. And so if they would have hit the high horsepower and protected like they did game 2, I definitely think I was in bad position, but if they would have just attacked with Cursula, if my Slowking was at this HP after turn 1, then I probably am in a commanding position. So it definitely could, the high horsepower miss could have made me incredibly favored or incredibly unfavored. But here, it's a pretty straight decision. I have to just protect and sucker punch into the Cursula because I can't take an attack from Cursula here, and Cursula is guaranteed to underspeed me. So our Slowking protects, and we get a Sucker Punch off into Cursula, and we see that the Sucker Punch is a clean 2-hit KO on Cursula, which means that Cursula is not able to do much next turn. And then the high Earth Power from Cursula goes into Slowking, and the high horsepower goes into the Toxicroak. And because of the Sugar Berry, I take that hit. And Perish Body activates, which is pretty relevant, not at this exact moment, but can be relevant in deciding what's going to happen later. It's a clean, just I need a Sucker Punch to the Cursula, even though there's a good, I was almost certain that they're going to protect there. There's no reason to risk the possibility of a miss. I mean, of them not protecting, I mean. And so we see that they protected, and then the Surf is going to kill the Toxicroak, or the Crocodile, and heal my Toxicroak. So they bring in Conflable, which this definitely is one of the things that makes this a little bit awkward because their Cursula is guaranteed to outspeed me, and they have Follow Me. I can't really Sucker Punch, so the only options are really Protect or switch out with the Slowking, and maybe even switch out with the Toxicroak, because Toxicroak actually can't do much. So I decided to just Protect and switch into the Amoonguss. So we switch into the Amoonguss, Slowking goes for the Protect, and they follow me with the Confable. And the Psychic ends up going into the Amoonguss. So if I were to protect it, I definitely get a huge advantage here. However, I think that was definitely a risky decision. And with that, I think that here's the obvious play for me to do is honestly just Surf and Rage Powder with Amoonguss. That is definitely the best play to do. However, I am super paranoid of the possibility of Clefable being safety goggles. And so I decided to make the play playing around that possibility and sporing into the Cursula spot and switching the Slowking out. In hindsight, I think this is a terrible decision because it's very obvious that Clefable, being a fairy Pokemon, is going to have the poison resist berry since my entire team is a poison team. And so I shouldn't feel like I need to switch out there. Especially because I know Slowking is going to guarantee outspeed Cursula because of the room service, and it's almost guaranteed to switch because it is the last turn of Perish Body for that. And so here I basically just missed out on a free Surf that would guarantee kill Thundersturium. And they end up having Safeguard, which is a big deal, which makes my Spore end up doing actively nothing. So here the only real play is just Fake Out and Spush out Amoonguss, because Amoonguss pretty much does nothing since Pollen Puff does almost no damage to their entire team, or their entire field right now, and I can't Spore, and I can't at all either. And so here we just, the main decision is to switch into Duralgi or Slowking. I decided to switch into Duralgi because it will be able to take a hit from Clefable if need be. And so here we just Fake Out into the Thunderous Bob, and the Toxicroak takes a Psychic. And so right now we're not in the best shape, but it is a 3v3. And so I decided to bring in Slowking because I'm positive Slowking could take an attack from both of these Pokemon, but either of them. But it doesn't. I don't know if it can definitely take the double up. So the main question is do I set up Trick Room or do I go for the Protect on Slowking? I decided to go for set up Trick Room because I know I should be able to take an attack from Thundurus, and I should be able to take attack from Clefable. And so if they don't double up the Slow King, I should get up Trick Room, and I think I won this game. But if I do, in fact, if they do double up, I'm definitely not in great shape. We Thunderbolt here, and we say I barely survive, but that is actually a high roll, and I'm guaranteed to survive that. And then they actually double up the Slow King. So if I would have protected, I think I get a commanding lead there. But sadly, don't quite get there. And we end up hitting with the Sludge Bomb, but barely missing the KO, and having to bring it back into Mungus. And so here, they still have Safeguard up, so I can't really Spore. We see there's 2 turns of Safeguard. And so my only options are Rage Powder and Pollen Puff. I decide that it's very likely they're going to double up into Drogalgi, and I'm pretty sure Drogalgi takes the double up. So I'm just going to heal it, and then try to go for the kill on the Thundurus. And we see that Thundurus Psychics into the Drogalgi, which does a little bit more than I was hoping. And then Psychic also goes into the Drogalgi, and it just barely survives. Probably overestimated the special defense on Drogalgi, but it's very good special defense. It has a very high special defense stat. And so here we're able to get the Pollen Puff up and heal up back up to 50% health. And now we're actually in a reasonable shape. So now we got Cursula and Clefable versus my Mungus and Drogalgi. And here I'm about to make a terrible decision. I am still super paranoid about the possibility of safety goggles on Clefable, and so I don't run a Rage Powder. However, I know that I survive a Psychic. My Drogalgi survives a Psychic from Clefable, and so the only reasonable play I should be making is Rage Powder, because Pollen Puff into Drogalgi could be helpful because my Drogalgi is faster than their Cursula. However, they might just follow me with Clefable. So I'm going to make a Pollen Puff playing around Safety Goggles Clefable to heal it up. However, I'm just actively being dumb because I should have just played around Follow Me and clicked Rage Powder. And so they follow me here, and we get the Sludge Bomb, and we reveal that they are in fact the Poison Resist Berry, which is completely expected, and I should have kind of been assuming that. And then the Psychic goes into the Drogalgi spot and kills the Drogalgi, which Amoonguss could have taken that Psychic attack, and then the turn following, I could kill the Clefable with my Drogalgi. And so here I decided to run away to not give him any information, and I definitely think I probably could have won this game. I made a couple of questionable decisions. And I think definitely ended up losing the game from them, but hopefully I can get there next game. So here we are for game 2. So game 2, my plan is to go with Naganadel and Skunk Tank. That was my game 2 leads, and I definitely want Slow King in the back, and the main question is do I want Amoonguss, Toxicroak, or Drogalgi as my fourth Pokemon? And it's definitely unclear. I can definitely see an argument for all of them, because Toxicroak can get Fake Out support, but it doesn't have great damage output, which is one of the big concerns. Drogalgi is very good damage output, but it doesn't help set up Trick Room in any way, and is a little bit awkward outside of Trick Room. And then Amoonguss is very good at helping set up Trick Room, and so I decided to go with Amoonguss instead of any of the others. So my opponent leads Clefable Cinderace, which is, unexpected but not particularly terrible for me. I reveal my Air Balloon with my Skunk Tank, and so here it's a pretty clean double up into Cinderace in case they protect with Clefable with poison coverage. It's very unlikely that Cinderace is going to become a something that resists poison, and there's a good chance that Clefable just does follow me like this. And so here we see that Sludge Bomb goes into the Clefable, doing pretty good damage, even with the berry, and then bulk up on Cinderace, which is definitely unexpected. However, I'm sure there's some sort of damage calc that they're accounting for with this, and but because the main reason of staying is because I don't have many physical attackers, and so I wasn't quite expecting that. And so here we see that we just barely miss out on the KO for the Fable, so the only real play is just to kind of do the same thing, which is double up into the Cinderace in case they follow me, and if they don't follow me, we kill Cinderace. I decide to go with Play Rough because instead of Poison Jab, just in case they, you know, bulk up again pretty much. We see they follow me, and the Sludge Bomb gets a clean kill on Fable, and I get +1 speed boost from Beast Boost. And now I should guarantee outspeed any Pokemon on their team, even if it has Choice Scarf. And we know Cinderace is not Choice Scarf because it used Bulk Up and then the Senate Head. And here we reveal we're Focus Sash. And so right now we're in okay shape. I definitely feel like, you know, we got a Pokemon lead right now, and we do have a +1 speed Naganadel here. And so here they bring in Aggron. And so I decide to do the pretty safe protect the Naganadel in case Cinderace has a Sucker Punch. Because if they have Sucker Punch, it would definitely be pretty annoying for me. And so I'm going to protect play around that. And so here I'm debating on whether or not I should Sucker Punch to Cinderace. Sucker Punch to Cinderace is really good if they don't go for Sucker Punch. But because I'm playing around Sucker Punch, I should definitely have Sucker Punch into the Aggron spot instead. Because if they do Sucker Punch, then Sucker Punch fails because Cinderace is faster. And so they end up protecting Cinderace, which in my mind guarantees that Cinderace does not have Sucker Punch. And so I definitely think I could have gotten a little bit of damage on Aggron. I don't know if that matters too much, but definitely feel like it probably cost me a little there. But because I don't think I have Sucker Punch, I think I should just go for the KO on Naganadel and then do a little bit of damage into the Aggron. The only damage that I can really do onto Aggron with Skunk Tank is Sucker Punch, so the clean decision is just Draco Meteor into Cinderace and Sucker Punch into Aggron. I can see an argument for Sludge Bomb instead of Draco Meteor, but I don't. But their Cinderace seems a little bit bulkier, and so I decided to just go for the safe KO. So we get the Sucker Punch onto the Aggron. It does reasonable damage, and then the Draco Meteor, which is a clean KO, onto the Cinderace spot. And we drop our special attack drops, and we're going to get another speed boost from Beast Boost. However, it doesn't really matter because Aggron is going to kill the Naganadel here with the Ice Punch. So right now we have a 3-2 Pokemon advantage, and I think that I should definitely be switching in to Slowking here because I actually don't think they have a way to kill it with 2 Pokemon on their team unless they have Crocodile. And Crocodile is really awkward with my Skunk Tank out because Skunk Tank has the Balloon. However, I decided to switch into Moongus, and I think this ends up being a bad decision in the end. And so here, I have a couple decisions, and I decided to Spore into the Aggron and Sucker Punch into the Thunder spot. I think this is a really strange decision based on how I played Game 1, because Game 1 I played super well around Safety Goggles, and we know that Thundurus is not Safety Goggles from Game 1. And so I should have Spored into the Thundurus spot and Sucker Punched into the Aggron spot. However, we see that they go for a non-damaging move, and so Sucker Punch doesn't work, and then Spore gets blocked because of Safety Goggles. However, we do get bailed out a little bit because they misplay, or they didn't really see the Air Balloon. And so they did a ground move into my immune Pokemon that's immune to ground moves. And so here, we only can really Spore and Sucker Punch into the Thunder spot. We could theoretically Spore into the Aggron instead, but we definitely Spore into the Thundurus makes the most sense. So here they Psychic into the Amoonguss, which +2 Psychic does in fact kill my Amoonguss. And the Heavy Slam into the Skunk Tank does more than I would like. I would have hoped it takes 2 hits, but instead it is a clean 2-hit KO. So here we bring the Slowking, and now this is where it gets a little awkward. It's are you going to double up into Slowking or not? Slowking should be able to take 1 hit from either of them, but can't take both. If I protect here and they double up, I'm in amazing position. If I don't protect and they target or single target, I'm in great position. So I decided to just go for this Trick Out Room and not protect. and go for the Sucker Punch onto the Thunderous spot. I think that might have been a misplay. I probably should have Sucker Punched the Aggron spot because Surf would have killed Thunderous even without the Sucker Punch, but it might not kill Aggron depending on their how bulky they are special defensively. And here the Thunderbolt does hit Slowking, but they end up splitting up to play around the Protect, and the Aftermath ends up getting Aggron down such that it should die to Surf. And so I definitely get a little bit lucky there. It was, maybe not lucky. It's definitely became a very 50-50 decision on both of our ends, and I made the right read in this specific 50-50. And now the Surf should get a clean double KO. And I definitely think I probably could have won this a lot cleaner if I would have brought in Slowking instead of the Amoonguss when I did, because I don't think the Aggron Thunderous double up can actually kill the Slowking. But with that, we do get the win, and we're going to go to Game 3. So here we are for Game 3, and I 100% think Amoonguss should not be brought. Amoonguss looked terrible in both games because of Safeguard Clefable and Safety Goggles Aggron. And so, however, I do think Slowking Toxicroak seems like a great lead, and Skunk Tank and Dragalge in the back seems very good. And so this is kind of my plan. Get rid of the Amoonguss because I prepared way too much for Amoonguss, and get rid of the Nagano and say, I'm going to go super Trick Room focused. I feel like even game 1, even if, if kind of similar thing happens to Game 1, I feel like I'm in good shape because I feel like I could have won Game 1 with a little bit cleaner play, or if Amoonguss was Skunk Tank like it is going to be in this game. So my opponent leads Crocodile Thunderous, and I lead Toxicroak Slowking. So this is the exact same lead as Game 1. And because this is the exact same lead as Game 1, I'm going to do the exact same play as Game 1 because I think it is the optimal play, which is fake out Thunderous and set up Trick Room. If they attack with Crocodile, I'm very, very happy because I get my weakness policy activated. And if they don't, Thunderous could have something like Taunt, and I'm pretty sure Crocodile is Choice Scarf based on how it's played so far. So they switch out Crocodile into Aggron. With that, instead of it being Cursula, it makes me feel very good about our position. So we fake out into the Aggron, and we get Trick Room up with Slowking. So here, we have a couple options, but mainly it's just Helping Hand versus Sucker Punch. I decide that just Helping Hand and Surf. This plays around possible Nasty Plot from Thunderous, or a switch out into a different Pokemon, and this also does very good damage into their entire, both of their Pokemon. So we get the Helping Hand into the Surf. And with this, we end up doing quite a bit of damage, and they both should be killed with another Surf. We see they get the high horsepower off the Slowking, and activating my weakness policy, which is very good if I can survive the turn. And we get hit also by a Thunderbolt. And so here we can see Game 2, if I would have brought Slowking instead of the Amoonguss spot, this is possibly would have happened Game 2 instead of my Amoonguss, which ended up doing nothing, and I would have been possibly been able to get up a Trick Room and been in very good shape. So here I decide to switch out the Toxicroak and set up Surf. There's a good chance that they're going to protect with one of the two Pokemon in front of me, and even if they don't, Dragalge should be fine at taking one of the attacks and gives me a good position if Slowking doesn't. So right here I feel incredibly good if Slowking does not get fully paralyzed or if they protect with both. So they don't protect with both, but Slowking does not get fully paralyzed, which is really convenient, and now I get a clean kill, and I got both of my Trick Room Sleepers in Trick Room, and they can't protect with Thunderous. Next turn. And they bring in Cinderace. So from the previous match, I'm pretty sure Cinderace does not have Sucker Punch, so I don't need to worry about priority. So here the main question is what I want to do. I decide to Sludge Bomb into the Thunderous because that should be an easy kill, and I decide to Psychic into Cinderace, which would also be an easy kill. I'm fine with either of these protecting, and they switch out Thunderous into the Crocodile, which maybe I should have Surfed instead, but it ends up it's going to be fine if I was to guess. because they protect the Cinderace. And the Psychic goes into the Protect of the Cinderace, and the Sludge Bomb does, reasonable damage into the Crocodile, but not as good as it could be because it is resisted. And so here now, I think the only real decision is to Surf with Slowking and Sludge Bomb into the Cinderace spot. I can see an argument to maybe Draco Meteor into the Cinderace spot instead. The main plus side to Draco Meteor and the Cinderace is it should one-shot Cinderace if I end up getting fully paralyzed. But I feel pretty fine with this play, and so I don't get fully paralyzed, and the +2 Surf kills Crocodile. It should technically have killed Crocodile even at max HP, so the little damage ended up not mattering too much, and Cinderace should be in range of a Sludge Bomb. And so now we have a 3v1 in which their last Pokemon is Thundurus. However, Trick Room is over. Right now, I'm feeling very good about my position. Because I know my last Pokemon is Skunk Tank, and they are within range of a single Sucker Punch from Skunk Tank. And so this game is pretty much wrapped up. However, on their eyes, they don't know this because they don't know what my final Pokemon is. And so I think their play is just Psychic into Dragalge and hope that I get fully paralyzed with Slowking. And I decided to just, Sludge Bomb Trick Room. Those are technically the, most consistent moves. And they end up Psychicking into the Slowking spot, which like I said, I think that's technically incorrect, but I don't think it really matters because I don't think there was really any way they were going to win this game because of the Pokemon I had in the back, but I ended up getting the kill right there with the Sludge Bomb. And there we go. I'm able to beat the #1 person in our division. However, they did get a game off, which means they clinched first seed in our division. It was a great match. They had some really good prep, and I definitely think that I probably could have gotten a 2-0 there if I played a little bit cleaner, but I played well enough and prepped well enough to be able to get the match, which gets me for my 4th win, which was my goal at the beginning of the season. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.